Well, good morning, everyone. Thomas Montgomery. It's a beautiful Tuesday morning, September 23rd, 2025. We get together most weekday mornings at 8 o'clock Central, talk about strategies, tips, share techniques, success stories, and support each of you. My screen should be shared. We have the landing page in the background, and I don't know how to emphasize this anymore. If you don't have your landing page, I recommend, we don't require it, but strongly recommend, let's get that landing page up. It serves as the entry point of the sales funnel for those of you who are distribution partners. By people going to your landing page, the lead is registered as yours. They fill out the landing page, they immediately get your contract. If they don't sign it, we set up a drip marketing sequence automatically. It's about 10 texts that go to them over about a week period, 3 or 4 of them in the first day. Very effective at converting leads and lightening your load so you don't have to spend as much time following up, educating, and prompting. So if you don't have your landing page, I encourage you to text us and we need to get that resolved. So in the inset here, we are 509 South Pacific. This is our daily Zoom. Our website is 509pacific.org. It is not displayed here. Instead, we're looking at one of the landing pages. To access this landing page, just go to guaranteedfunding.org. So when we set up your landing page, it will have kind of a complicated URL, but then what we can do is, if you wish, get a more branded URL and have that directed. So for instance, if we copy and paste this, we open a new browser, we paste it, and bam. So that's the point. So the landing page itself will come with kind of the gobbledygook URL, but we can get a custom URL to direct to it. The tech support line, which I mentioned, is 903-347-8042. This is not our live phone number. If you want the live phone number, go into 509pacific.org. It's answered live. The tech support line is great for text, and then we record our trainings and they're up on YouTube. We covered the song of the day by Rod. As far as who we are, what we do, this is, I guess, the most succinct description. So we're a 501c3 nonprofit. We applied for and received a grant. The grant has 3 mandates, 3 concepts that we're supposed to be delivering on. One of which is improving financial literacy. The second of which is we give away free shelf corps. And thirdly, we want to leverage that knowledge and leverage those shelf corps to go get clients money to start or grow a business. For those of you that are being interested in being a distribution partner, and frankly, many of you that are on the Zoom now already are, this is a way for us to work together. Doesn't cost you a penny to become a reseller. We can work together to educate. We can work together to give away the shelf corps, and then we take care of the capital raise for the clients. If that doesn't make sense or you need more detail, because I know that was a cursory overview, our YouTube channel will get you deeper. Today, we want to talk about client satisfaction. So we're not going to worry about sales today. Sales will happen. Those of you like Rod Francis and Amanda, and those of you that are having yet another 6-figure month, understand we don't need to sell anything. You and I are problem solvers. We help people have a fundable business, get them matched to the right lender, and we guarantee that they'll get funding. So we solve problems. So don't take the mindset, oh, I'm not good at sales, or I don't want to sell anything. You don't need to sell anything, but we do need to go educate. Now, with the education, then you're able to provide the free shelf core. You determine the processing fee. So you control how much you make on the front end. And then, of course, you're making 5 points in the back end. But today's topic is not about sales. It's not about even education. It's about client satisfaction. We have a commitment to 100% client satisfaction. 100% client satisfaction. Now, is that always an easy bar to reach, an easy goal to reach? No, no, because people are people. So, what I want to educate today is specifically how we're going forward, starting today, and we started it recently, but we've redesigned, re-engineered how we're going to solve client issues when they're not 100% satisfied. So, I wanted to share that with you today. So, let me go ahead and share a little bit more. So this is specifically the process. It's not very complicated, by the way, but I just want us all to be on the same page. So if you're a client or you have a client that's not 100% satisfied, this is how we're going to resolve it, and we want to resolve it promptly and immediately. All right. So the first thing that we need from the client, and so I'm going to read this, but then we're going to talk about it so it makes sense. So, of course, everything that we do is in writing. And there's really two phases to the program. Phase one is when we or the reseller is giving away the shelf corp to the client. So that is what we call phase one. That's a written agreement. If they're coming to us, then of course we're the contracted party. If they're getting it from a reseller, then it's between the reseller and the client, but it's the same agreement. So we want clients to be 100% satisfied on their shelf corp. And then secondly, we have phase two, which is where we go to funding, a separate contract. That contract is always between us and the client. So if you're a reseller and you go out and sell 100 shelf corps this month, that's going to be that standardized contract that we provide. You edit it between you and them. I don't I don't think we'll ever have we should never, I'll reword it. We should never have client issues with phase one because it's just cut and dry, right? Here's an agreement. They pay you whatever you want the processing fee to be, and then we handle the implementation. Phase two can have more concerns because phase two, which again is between us and the client, even if you generated the client, we'll be the contracted party for phase two because we're doing all the work and we don't want to put you as a monkey in the middle. So our agreements are in writing. Therefore, if we have a client that's less than 100% satisfied, we need to start objectively with identifying the problem. And so many of you have graduate degrees, MBAs, law degrees, so forth, as I do. And I remember in graduate school, my MBA program, we had a year-long class on problem solving. Now that professor has long passed away, rest in peace. But the issue often with people is they've got a bitch, they've got a complaint, they've got an issue, and we're not dismissing the importance of it, but it's hard to do anything with that if we can't narrow it down. So what we need to do if we have a client that's not 100% satisfied, which we want them all to be, is we want them to, let's read it together, identify the specific contract. Now, why we say that is, do they have an issue with the contract of phase one? Do they have an issue with the phase two agreement? Did they get collateral from us? They have an issue with that collateral agreement, but we need to know, first of all, okay, which contract is it that they believe that has not been fulfilled as promised in writing? So we need to clarify that first because some people, they're not quite as coherent as you and I, and they might just have an issue. If we can't narrow it down, it's pretty hard to fix it or decide to give them a refund. We need to know what specific contract is the issue with. Now, let's say you just have a train wreck and they say, well, everything is wrong. You done nothing that you promised. Well, that's not manageable. We got to break it down. So please, for the client, we would say to them, please, okay, let's break it down into chunks. Specifically, which agreement is it that you have an issue with that you believe that we've not done what we promised? So we're not yet asking them to explain what we didn't do, but we need to start with which agreement are we working with? Simple enough. Anyone have a question or concern about starting the problem resolution with that? Because again, all of our agreements are in writing. Therefore, the written agreement should clarify what we've promised to do and what the client's promised to do. So if there's something that we've not done that we should have, shame on us, but we need to figure out which agreement we're talking about. I think we're all good there. No one seems to have any questions there. Makes sense. And maybe that seems implied to you, or maybe you're a pessimist and say, well, that shouldn't matter, but how can it not matter, right? If there's some concern that we didn't do something that we promised to do, we need to know what the issue is. Oh, where it comes from. Sorry, where it comes from. All right, so then we're going to move to step two. There's only 3 steps here, so it's not complicated. We're not trying to make it so difficult that the client isn't able to get it resolved. Don't think that at all. Okay, so number 2. So now we know which agreement that they feel like that we dropped the ball on. And we're all humans, so no one's perfect, and maybe we did drop the ball, maybe we didn't. But regardless, we've identified the contract. Now, we want the client to, excuse me, the dissatisfied client, to identify what specific provisions, in other words, where at in that contract is something that we didn't do. So we need to understand that, right? So again, a lot of people, they're just not as succinct in communication as what you are and what I try to be. And so they'll just kind of just vomit all over you with emotion. Very difficult to resolve problems that way. So if we can know which contract is the issue, and then secondly, we need to understand what in that agreement that we didn't do. Now, sometimes for some clients, this is the first time they've read the damn agreement, which is horrible, right? Because in some cases, people won't read the agreement. And so they're like, well, I'm trying to think of a professional response for this discussion. I wanted a new apple tree. I know it's a ludicrous example, but we'll just pull something out of the air. Where's my apple tree? Well, client, which agreement again are you pulling from this apple tree concept? And then where at in that agreement did we promise an apple tree? Where did you get that? But some people, they'll just make shit up. It's kind of an alternative reality. And sometimes it's manipulative, but sometimes it's just illiteracy. They're just making things up, or in their mind, it's what they think it should be. So by doing this, we can all come to the same agreement of, okay, we know where the issue's coming from. We know what the issue is. And if we've not done what we promised to do, we need to fix it. We need to absolutely fix it as quickly as possible, and we take responsibility for that. The third and the final element that we ask from them is, go ahead and take a look at the agreement as well, client, and have you done what you promised? Because every agreement, these are bilateral agreements. So what that means is there are promises that we made to them and they made to us. So should we do everything we promised? Absolutely, without exception. But also, let's go ahead and take a look. Have you done? I can give you an example. I'll keep it generic, but a client yesterday, where's my funding? That's the most common response we get from disgruntled clients. Where's my funding? And so we pulled the client's file up, and the client has defaulted. The client didn't pay as agreed. So then we explain, well, client, we just need to work with you to get caught up. If you can get caught up, then we can fulfill our promises, but you're not paying as you promised. So often what will happen is if a client doesn't pay as agreed, then the services are put on hold, not being mean or ugly, just we put them on hold until the client comes current. But for some reason, clients are sometimes will think, well, I'm not paying, but I still should get the deliverables. Well, the world doesn't work that way. So, I mean, that's literally it. There's 3 things, and we want this in writing from the client. Now, our real preference is for them to mail it in. We can be loose on that if they need to email it. In a perfect world, we'd love them to mail it in, because at that point they can literally circle what we didn't do. So it just makes it obvious. And then they could even circle in a different color that they've done what they promised. But we don't want to set the burden too high so people can't get their issues resolved. So what I'd love is feedback from all of you. We have 645 at this moment. People tend to come and go throughout the session, but 645 of you. What questions, comments, concerns do you have on this simple process so we can either refund money to the clients and or at least make sure that they're 100% satisfied? All right, so let's see. Selena has a question, and hers went back to the landing page. And she's clarifying that the contract that's associated with the landing page would be her contract at her pricing, and that's correct. That's part of what we call the RMP, the Reseller Marketing Program. So you can text us, Selena, or anyone else. We send you the RMP packet. In the RMP packet, it clarifies a number of important variables. What do you want your price point to be for the markup on the shelf corps? What phone number do you want your prospects to have to call if they have issue, so forth. Because when we do the drip marketing, I mentioned that there's around 10 drips that go over about a week. One of them is, hey, if you have a question, give us a call. And then we put into that drip marketing whatever phone number you give us. But yes, it's customized. All right. Mark's asking about payments. And so that's fair game. So it is up to each of you as a reseller. I was talking yesterday late afternoon to one of our resellers in Idaho, and he used the verbiage when he came to work for us, and that's the wrong mindset. If you're a reseller or a branch office, you're not working for us. You own your own business, and we're providing the service. So think about Walmart or Amazon or Kroger. They probably don't make their own peanut butter. If they do, ignore that for the example, but they buy Peter Pan peanut butter. So Peter Pan makes the peanut butter, and then there's different outlets, different distribution points that sell the peanut butter. Well, we develop the shelf corps and fulfill the funding process. So we're like Peter Pan, probably a bad example. And each of you are the resellers, the distributors. So with that being said, you don't work for us. We're your vendor. We're your back office. You're an entrepreneur. Because, for instance, we don't pay you for number one, right? You're getting paid directly from the client. So with all that being said, let's go to the next question. But yes, you can mark up the price, the processing fee as you want. Let's see. Selena says, if we are upselling the processing fee, are we refunding that? So no. So that's a great point. So, well, let's describe. So there's a money back guarantee, and that's where we could refund any money for any reason. But that wasn't the nature of her question. The nature of her question, I think, was just in a normal process, what are the client's payments that they pay that's refundable? Well, when they go into phase two, not phase one, phase two, which is with us after they get the shelf corp deliverables, then that's where the refundable deposit would kick in, and the refundable deposit is refundable. But anything from phase one, unless it's falling under a money back guarantee, that is a fee that they pay to you all, and then we're fulfilling that by getting them a shelf corp. Shanna asked a good question about a checklist. The problem is that the process isn't always the same. Phase one is phase one, but when we get to phase two, it varies tremendously client from client. So it's more of a decision tree. So for example, client gets their shelf corp deliverables normally in 7 days, and then that point we go into phase two. We send them the funding app. They complete the funding app and they get offers. Some people get over $100,000 of offers. Some people get a few offers. Some people get no cash offers and only get the 0% financing. And then when we go to funding, some people want ABL, some want SBA, some want that USDA we talked about. So it's not easy to create a checklist for phase two because it's more of a bunch of if-then statements. I understand the desire for a checklist, but uh, it's very complicated. It depends on each client's path. All right, let's see. Troy says, what if all is fulfilled and up to date, but the customer is not just happy? Well, okay, well, we want customers to be 100% happy, but we have to again figure out, Troy, why? Why? Okay, so which agreement do they have unhappiness from? And then what part of the agreement are they unhappy about? Then we can attempt to resolve it. From a customer service perspective, we ask clients to schedule calls. We have a Calendly link. It's not up there today for some reason, but we'll add it. So we have a Calendly link to schedule, and it is calendly.com/week funding. So our normal service model is for clients to schedule one-on-one calls. And then that works out really well. Some clients are adverse to that. Some of our resellers discourage clients from doing that. So I think from a communication perspective, we can meet clients' expectations just fine if they understand we want to schedule. I guess that's redundant. If they schedule. Now, if they call in, of course, this is a text line. Some people will call into the text line. Well, no one ever answers it. Well, it's a text line, dude. No one answers it. But if they call into the 509 South Pacific phone number, which is on the bottom of our website, we do answer it live during the day, but we're probably like you. We get a lot of calls, right? And so when there's more calls and there are available staff, it goes into voicemail and then we return the calls. Some people, they're of this mindset, well, I don't leave voicemails. Well, then you don't get a call back. And so we track that, we manage that, and I believe we do a pretty good job at it. But regardless, if they schedule calls, we're very good unless there's just some conflict that comes up with scheduling. And in most cases, if there's going to be a conflict, we'll even notify the client in advance to alert them of it. But again, we're never perfect, but we do need to follow this process if a client's not satisfied. So Vanessa just asked about that. So we just covered that. Training, and Brian brings up, yes. So we do have in-person trainings. We opened our training center, oh, what was it, a month or 2 months ago. And so we do have in-person trainings. And so if you want to come to the in-person training, text us about that, and then we can get you information on next available dates. I'm not part of the training team, but we have a training team that can do an in-person full day. And so that way you have better knowledge. If you're a reseller, I think part of the problem, and this is not a knock, it's just as a reseller, all you're really empowered to do is to go give away these damn shelf corps, and everything else we do. Now, if you want to be more involved, that's what we call a branch office, and there's much more training and support for branch offices. So I think some of you may be in the wrong role or you don't understand the role. So let's go ahead and put that on here to clarify. So we have 3 levels of distribution partners, I guess. So we have the affiliate model, which we recently launched. There's a training about it on YouTube, but it's just as simple as literally, if you want to be an affiliate, refer people to guaranteedfunding.org, which is this, have them put your name right here, and that's all you need to do as an affiliate. So you don't support the client, you don't assist the client, you create awareness, you drive them to the standardized landing page, they mention your name, you get paid, and that's it. Next level is that of being a reseller. No cost to be an affiliate, no cost to be a reseller. To become a reseller, you'll go on 509 Pacific. There's a web form to fill out, no cost. We'll send you the packet, and you'll have an editable version of the client agreement. You can edit it, or we can handle all that for you with the landing page and the RMP. And then your job, so let's go ahead and define this. So affiliate refers to standardized landing page and gets paid. That's it. So they're not involved with saying, where's the client at? It's an affiliate program. Reseller, more involved. So they do private, or what we call white label branding of shelf corp agreement, what we call phase one. They get to determine how much they want to mark it up. They're paid directly from the client. And that's really all the reseller does. Then we pick it up from there, handle the implementation, the funding, and then we pay the reseller the 5% on the back end. I think what's happening is some of the resellers that they think they should be really involved, and they kind of become the monkey in the middle, and they just make things complicated and confusing. So we actually had to block Kenneth. He's on the training today. Kenneth is a great guy, smart guy, one of the smartest guys I know, but he's an inactive distribution partner, but just chews up way too much time. And so we can't continue to support people that just kind of need a friend. So resellers are closing, selling to shelf corps, getting the clients to pay, but then we take care of the funding. So that they shouldn't be all bogged down and all involved with the client. If you're a reseller and the client says, oh, I got a question, then your answer should be, hey, have you scheduled a call with them? If not, you'll schedule a call. The third level may be what some of you, like Brian, seems to be suggesting. So the branch office. The branch office is a whole different world. It's not free. It is where you have a physical brick and mortar office, and you're more intrinsically involved. So I think that's the first thing that we could do to avoid confusion, is know your role. If you're a reseller, you shouldn't really be involved with supporting the client in phase two. It's not your role. You should be out selling more shelf corps. If you're a branch office, then you're involved with the client throughout the whole process. And actually, we don't even talk to the clients. You handle all client communication. So I think this maybe is what some of you were missing, not understanding the differences in roles. So there's that. Let's see. So we do, Shanna's right. We do have a branch office promotion, and let's go ahead and put that for this month. And so the promotion, so it's called the September promotion. Waive the license fee, must go through ABL. So that's a very tight synopsis. And again, the full training's up on YouTube. But instead of paying the $10,000 branch office license fee, which is not a franchise, it's a license fee, the deal is in the month of September, if you yourself go through the funding process, go through the ABL, get funded through ABL, so you're a walking personal testimony, this would allow you to be able to have a branch office and waive the license fee. So yes, ma'am, that is available, and that ends in about a week, into September. All right. And Mr. Jones, I wasn't talking about you a minute ago, so I apologize. It was a different person. But yeah, I mean, each of you, if you're an affiliate, you don't need to do anything, right? If you just say, I'm an affiliate, and if you never refer anyone to guaranteedfunding.org, then you just don't get paid. Fair game. If you're a reseller, then there's a little bit of a higher expectation because now we're spending time and energy getting you the editable documents. There's a higher level of training and support. But so you do need to produce. Now, there's not any specific production requirements as a reseller, but the point is you got to decide if you're going to really bear down. It's kind of what we talked about on yesterday's training, which you can go back and see. There's about 5 or 6 hours of training you need to go through to really know what you're doing. And if that is not a commitment you're willing to make, then just drop down and be an affiliate. It's okay. You get paid both ways, and there's no contract you have to sign in either case. So it's simple. Branch office is not simple. Branch office is a leadership role, not simple. So yes, Vanessa's asking, so anyone that wants the branch office promotion, again, the full training's up on YouTube, but all you need to do is in the month of September, this month, be a client, go through ABL. And so, Vanessa, for your example, you have a client, I forget the client's name, they submitted their funding app last night. They've got a bunch of offers. So yeah, you're ready to go through ABL, Vanessa, working with your co-signer. Um, let's see if there's any other questions here. Joseph brings up a good point. Yeah, so I know it can be frustrating if you have a client and they've not gotten funded, but we're trying to do the right thing and explain the right thing is to get funding, we need to have a fundable business. And that's our role to help them. I understand that's all part of phase two, the funding phase. But if there's ever an issue, don't be afraid to bring it up. We want 100% client satisfaction, but it starts with communication. So if a client is not satisfied, I've laid out the simple 3 steps. Now, I see the question that Carla has, which is a fair question. What if we go through this and the client's still not satisfied, still not happy? Well, shame on us, because that's not the way we want it to work. But if we have a client that's still not satisfied, in other words, we can't resolve it, then we simply we have an arbitrator sit down. And arbitration isn't mean and it's not scary. It just means there's an independent third party. You have 2 people that have divergent views, divergent opinions, and the arbitrator makes a ruling. And so if the arbitrator looks at the contract in question and determines, did we do what we promised? Did the client do what they promised? And figure out what the root issue is if we were unable to do so. But I can tell you, all of our contracts have a binding arbitration provision. And I can say this in closing proudly, we've never even had one, not even one client with thousands, with tens of thousands of clients. We've never even had one client come back and say, guys, you didn't do what you promised to do. You weren't able to resolve the issue. Let's go to arbitration. So we have a 100% track record that if an issue does come up, which can come up because we're all humans, we're all people, as long as they can tell us what's the source document where we've dropped the ball, what specifically have we not done, and please confirm that you've done what you promised, we've been able to resolve it 100% of the time. But to answer the question, what happens if this doesn't resolve it, then we sit down with the arbitrator. All right. Thank you all very much. We'll be back tomorrow morning. I hope that this is helpful understanding the money back guarantee, 100% client satisfaction. See you tomorrow. Thanks, everyone. Bye.